To get the inside scoop. So the real Wolf of Wall Street, I presume?
Yes, I am the real wolf, although I'm a kinder, gentler version of the guy that's on the silver screen for sure, and certainly a more ethical version, but that is me.
So Jordan, I know you've been asked this question 100 times since the debut of The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio as yourself, but I just have to ask it again. Was it Hollywood taking wild liberties with the truth? Let's start with this straight line persuasion tactic that DiCaprio's character uses to turn these no-name, no-talent guys on Wall Street into the hottest brokers. Was that really how it went down?
Well, yes, it's true. The straight line system was something I created that allowed me to take these talentless dimwits, you could call them, and turn them into a world-class salespeople. But in the movie, the only liberty is that they collapse time. They make it seem like, one day I pick up a script and I'm like, with this script, I'm going to turn you guys into the best salesman on earth. And it didn't quite go down there. What happened was I stumbled upon this untapped niche in the stock market, which was selling $5 stocks to the richest 1% of Americans, very sophisticated business owners. And I had tried it myself and was doing it with with little ease. It was very easy for me to do. My junior partner, great sales guy, I trained him. He was able to do it as well. But the 12 talentless, no-name guys, when I tried to teach them to do it, they just simply could not do it. They could not close rich people. And that created a dilemma for me because I knew I'd had this huge market niche, but if I couldn't get the guys to close the sale, what was it really worth? So for about a month or so, I tried every possible sales training tactic known to man. And I was about 25 years old at the time, and I was already considered to be one of the top sales trainers on Wall Street. I gave great meetings. I'd read every book. I was a student of the game, and I tried everything possible, from teaching them answers to all the objections to, how to raise your voice, lower your voice, all this different stuff, but they couldn't close rich people. And then one day, after about a month of failing at it, I stood in front of these guys and, you look at the blank faces and they're all frustrated and they're getting negative because they can't make any money with the system. And I had this thought in my mind, and it was these magic words, which were, every sale is the same. And I looked at these, I said, don't you guys get it? Every sale is the same. Watch, it's a straight line. And I drew the straight line on the board. And what it really was it was a visual representation of a sale from start to finish. See, what was happening is when most people who, aren't like born closers, right? When they think of selling something, it's almost like there's so many variables and it's sort of like they meander this way and that way, and there's no real sort of a start, a finish, and sort of a system to do it. And once I took it and applied almost a linear concept, and linear concepts are the easiest to digest and to learn and to master, right? Once I did that, it was like magical. The doors blew off the company, and next thing I knew, the 12 talentless guys became world-class closers. They started telling their friends, and people started trickling in from the local neighborhoods, and they started pouring in from all over the country. And just like that, as the movie depicts, the firm went from 12 people to 1,000 stockbrokers, and they were all making millions of dollars. So it was just sort of a timing issue, and that it was not just a script, but it became this fully contained system where, it started, it was a book that kept growing and growing and growing, and ultimately became this sort of very, very detailed way that you could take basically any human being, regardless of their age, their race, their creed, their color, their socioeconomic background, their educational status. It didn't matter who they were. You could take any person, put them through the straight line system, they'd become a world-class closer in a matter of a couple of weeks. So that was a very powerful thing. Now, the mistake I made was I didn't combine that with ethics. I was very young at the time, and I lost my ethical way. And, happens not all at once, but just a little bit at a time. And I took that one step over the ethical line, and then I was doing things right again. But then once you do that, your ethical line moves a bit. Next time you take that step, it's a bit further still, and before you know it, through these tiny, almost imperceptible steps, you're doing things you never thought you'd do, you're associating people you never thought you'd associate with, and it seems perfectly okay. So that's how this firm just spiraled wildly out of control.
So you're saying there really is a straight line system?
Oh, no, the system, I actually teach it all over the world now to some of the largest Fortune 100 corporations. I teach it to entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, even moms and pops who are just looking to live more empowered lives. Because at the heart of people say, what is success? And success is a different definition to everybody, right? But let's just talk about in terms of making money for a second. Because I always say, I give seminars around the world, and I say, listen, I've been married a few times. This is not relationship mastery, right? I'm teaching here. This is money mastery. It's how do you make money? How do you close deals? Because at the heart of successful business is really the ability to close the deal. Without that, it's very difficult to make money in this world. It just really is. You could have the best product, But if you can't sell it and market it, how do you really make money? So I teach this straight line system. It's actually a self-contained system that I teach people. And, whether it's, an online business or an offline business, it could be clothing, real estate, car sales, insurance, hotels. I mean, I've taught this to pretty much every possible business that you can imagine. And the effects are dramatic. And the irony is, originally when I first, I wrote the book many years ago, The Wolf of Wall Street, which was adapted by the most brilliant screenwriter, Terrence Winter, and he made this amazing script out of it. And then Leo and Marty came. It's an unbelievable situation, right? That was like, I'm humbled by that. But what happened was, when I wrote that, and I started getting requests from all over the world to teach the straight line system. It was in the book. If you read it, you see what you say. Wait a second, how did he do that? He has these 12 people. Their IQs, I always say, Forrest Gump on 3 hits of acid, right? So it's not the high end of the intellectual gene pool. Yet somehow, in a matter of weeks, I mold these guys from being, basically, people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder to the top rung. So it's almost like magical. So I started getting calls from all over the world to come teach the system from some of the largest companies. And at first, I wouldn't do it. I actually said no. I was giving motivational speeches about, about how do you come back from failure, and about, feeling good and trying to sort of live in power lives, but not about selling, because I was nervous that almost like it was such a powerful system that if in the wrong hands, you could hurt people with it. You can manipulate people. You can get people to buy things they shouldn't buy, do things they shouldn't do, and that's not cool. And I was just saying, there's no way I'll teach you. And then I was with Leo one day, and he's like, I think you kind of like lost your mind a bit with this whole thing. It's not the system that was, evil. It's what you were doing with it. It's like a gun. A gun could either be evil in the hand of a terrorist, just rifling people away, right, or in the hands of a mom whose house is being invaded by 5 rapists, well, then the gun's a good thing, right? So it's like, a system itself has not the benign and malevolent. It's really the intention of the person using it. And in fact, when I started teaching it, I made people sign disclosure they would never use it for unethical purposes. And to me, once I shifted my message and said, listen, I'm willing to teach the straight line system, of course, my own business exploded, because people love to learn how to close deals, because, that's really a very monetizable thing. You go through the system and your sales go up and it pays for itself. So
you learned that not all selling is evil.
Well, certainly selling itself is not evil. I mean, selling itself is really what, is what makes the world go around. Nothing happens until something gets sold, right? But the real question is what's the ethics behind the sale? And I always say it's very, very simple in my mind. If at any point in time a salesman is putting their own selfish interest before the interest of the person they're trying to influence or persuade, that's when you cross over the ethical line. See, in my mind, applying a little bit of pressure, healthy pressure, to someone who could really benefit from what you're trying to sell them, there's nothing wrong with that. Because, see, many people go through life and they're almost blocked from making decisions. They have been taught since they're this big, by their parents, and by, don't trust a salesperson, don't do this, always from a fear-based point of view, and they live life with lack. They don't live a life of abundance. So they they might need something, like, let's say it's an insurance, let's make up something, like an insurance product, life insurance. They have a family, right? And it's a 35-year-old man. He's got 2 kids, and he should have life insurance, right? But he's so blocked about buying or trusting, he won't make a decision. He's just, he's one of these slow, methodical people, and then all of a sudden, God forbid, he passes away, his family's exposed. So ask yourself this question. If an insurance salesperson who has an unbelievable product that fits all this person's needs, that can protect his family, make sure they're going to be taken care of no matter what, have built equity in the program, get interest, tax, all this stuff, is it ethical for this person to make a very strong case and to persuade this man, say, listen, buddy, I think you're in a bit of denial here? That, to me, is ethical persuasion. The other side of that is when I went off the rails back in 1989, and I'd say, I'm going to sell anybody a $5 stock, whether they need it or not, whether it's good or... That's the other side of that coin. So, again, I think selling is a beautiful, wonderful thing. I think everyone should become a master. And when I say a master closer, I don't talk about a hard-charging, that's not what it's about, pressure sales. It's about learning how to make your ideas, your concepts, your dreams known to other people in a way that empowers them and wants them to take action and get you what you want to. It's a cooperative thing. It's not about you getting what you want and them getting the short end of the stick. It's about 2 people coming together. One person has something the other person needs, and the person who has it being able to fill that need elegantly and help the person, empower them, and make money too. To me, that's what really business is all about.
So you mentioned this straight line persuasion system as being every sale is the same. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. That's really what's at the heart of the straight line, in the sense that, you can look at a sale and approach it in a way where, there's a start and there's a finish, and there are certain things that have to happen along the way. In other words, it's not like some random, bizarre, psychic thing when someone goes from saying, let me think about it, to saying, yeah, let's do it. And that's really what sales, what persuasion's all about. It's not about getting people who say no to say yes. You don't want to get those people. Well, if they want to say no, then they don't want it. That's fine. You should really try to get them out of the equation before you even try to sell to them, those who really aren't interested and can't benefit from your product. But it's the ones who are on the fence, the ones who would say, let me think about it, let me call you back, let me speak to my lawyer, my accountant, the tooth fairy, whatever it might be, right? So in the sense of there's that group of people. And the reason why they come up with these, where they really stalls versus objections, is because there are certain key elements that they're really not convinced on. And those elements, they're in every single sale that you can imagine, whether you're selling something that's tangible like a car or a piece of clothing or a computer, or the intangible, whether it's like investing in an idea, okay, where it's not like a product, so to speak, but it's just something that you can't put your hands on. It's the same thing, and those things must line up before someone says yes. So what happened is, and the reason, it was almost like I cracked the code for influence, because remember this movie, The Italian Job? It's a great movie, right? And in the movie, it's about safe crackers. And a master safe cracker, I think it's played by Donald Sutherland. And when he cracks a safe, what he does is he actually puts his ear to the safe and he spins the dial and listens for that click. And once he has that click, that's one number to the combination. But does the safe open? No, because there's more than one number, one part of a combination. There's like 3 or maybe 5 numbers. Same thing goes in situations of influence. There's 5 things, there's 5 numbers that have to be hit on before someone's going to say, yeah, let's do it. So that's why every sale is the same, because you have to line up those 5 numbers. What I did with the straight line system is I came up with this sort of a syntax, essentially a formula, a strategy for lining up those 5 core elements the same way every time. What I was doing before I invented the straight line, I was doing it automatically. When you find a great salesperson, which is a natural born closer, like that 1.1% of people. Most people just aren't like that, right? They struggle to sell. They're not comfortable selling. Well, they can sell okay, but they're not at the top of the heap, right? Well, if you go to any great closer, they're running a straight line pattern. They're doing that. They're taking those 5 elements and they're sort of cracking that code. So what I did is by taking that, slowing it down, and turning it into a system, I was able to essentially to almost implant that into any other person, whether they had natural sales ability or not. And for like an entrepreneur, forget a salesperson, how about just an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business? Well, if you can't sell, if you can't influence, if you can't persuade, good luck trying to get your business off the ground. I'm not talking about just your customers. I'm talking about the bankers, the people with venture capitalists, your vendors, your credit card processor, the people who work for you. How do you get people to work for you excited? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to want to buy into your vision? At the highest level, what sales really is, it's the transference of emotion. And the emotion you're transferring is this emotion of certainty. That someone feels certain, yeah, it's a good thing, it's going to help me, it's going to fill my need. When you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start a business and you're recruiting people, well, you're selling people on your vision for the future, your vision for this company. And if you can't do that, good luck trying to get great people to work for you. It's nearly impossible, which is why you always see, the people, if they say, oh, he's a visionary. Well, that's true, but typically not only are they visionaries, they also possess the ability to sell the vision to other people, to inspire them, to motivate them. So selling is not just like, people think of selling, oh, well, I'm not a salesman, I don't need to. Well, yes, you do. You need to learn how to influence. How about trying to get your kids to make their bed or do their homework or believe in the value of education? How about trying to get a landlord to give you a reduction on your rent or to extend the lease the way you want? How about trying to negotiate terms? You understand, it cuts to everything. So I always look at this, say, when I say I cracked the code on influence, what I really did essentially was I was, by working backwards almost, by saying I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning, saying what has to happen before someone says yes, I was able to take that and put it into this system that took the no-name, talentless guys and turned them into millionaires. And shame on me for being foolish enough and stupid enough at 25 years old to take the first, $5 or $10 million and think, hey, let me live out every adolescent fantasy I ever had, starting with buying a white Ferrari Testarossa because Don Johnson had one, and going out to the Regent Beverly Wilshire Hotel because Richard Gere had done it in Pretty Woman, and thinking that greed was good because Gordon Gekko had said it. Right now I'm, 50 years old and I know better, okay? I understand that success without ethics and integrity isn't success, it's failure. So I was forced to start over again. And now I teach things in a very, very different way. The straight line system represents ethical persuasion.